From Pac-Man to Pokemon and Tetris to Tomb Raider, video games have played a major part in people's lives for over 30 years. Although many enjoy the occasional play on their console, some people take the experience too far, staying up late, skipping meals and cutting all communication with their friends and family. These people will do anything to get their fix. Are they just simply passionate, or can you actually become addicted to video games? This is Gaming Exposed. On our quest to discover the truth about gaming addiction, we meet the woman who felt so strongly after her gaming-obsessed son took his own life that she set up an online help group.
My son got married. He left in the middle of the wedding to go home and so he could keep gaming.
The video game developers who maintain that they are providing harmless entertainment.
If it is a problem, I don't know.
A self-confessed former gaming addict who's experienced the effect of his constant craving.
I think I've been on the stretch with a couple of friends before and played solid for maybe 24 hours, I think, once.
The retailers who stand to profit from the billion-dollar video game industry.
We're usually looking at about $1 to $2 grand a day.
And a psychologist who will help us to further understand the causes and consequences of addiction.
You have to want to be able to give it up, and you only want to be cured of giving it up if you actually realise that it's affecting your life.
In order to appreciate what it's like to be addicted to anything, we must first find out what the term actually means.
Compulsion, a need almost to carry on.
It's the first thing you think of or want to do when you wake up.
A compulsion to do something that you can't stop doing.
They feel compelled to do something at the detriment of other things that they need to do in their life.
Everybody knows that you can become addicted to alcohol, to drugs and smoking, but video games? It's not that hard to believe when you look at the similarities between addiction to alcohol and game playing. Sufferers of both addictions have an inability to stop or control it, whilst living in denial and suffering from severe depression and mood swings. They are both progressive diseases with similar phases. These include chasing the first win or high score, experiencing blackouts, and using the object of addiction to escape pain. Both victims of addiction are preoccupied with their addiction, experience low self-esteem, and seek immediate gratification.
Well, the mechanics of addiction are the same, whether it's gambling, smoking, booze, whatever.
It's not like, say, alcohol or anything like that. You're not physically addicted. It's purely psychological thing that you feel that you have to play it.
I think they don't believe it's like injecting heroin or smoking cigarettes. I mean, you can turn the power off.
Well, actually, all addiction to me is chemical, because you're addicted to something because it gives you a physiological arousal, and when you're physiologically aroused, you get all the hormones and chemicals whizzing around your body. So anything that gives you a reward, gives you a buzz, is chemically arousing.
One such individual with a gaming problem is self-confessed addict Luke Carradi. He started seriously gaming during free periods at college, and his addiction spiraled out of control.
Video games, generally played in the evening, I'd say 4 or 5 hours maybe in the evening. So if you add that up every week, that's quite a lot. Although it did used to be more when I wasn't at full-time work. When I was a student at college, sort of as I said, when I was sort of 15 to, between 15 and 19, that's when you have periods in college where you're not really doing anything, you have free periods and time off, and then, you know, rather than being sensible and studying, I kind of ended up getting dragged into playing games, which is not really too helpful. I think I've been on the stretch with a couple of friends before and played solid for maybe 24 hours, I think, once, which was the longest time, and then, yeah, you lose sleep. To say my body clock time and stuff's completely still out the window at the moment. I mean, I wake up, I was playing till quite late, and now I still wake up sort of late in the day and go to bed still quite late. And I think it started to affect my eating habits slightly. I sort of miss breakfast and stuff. It does make you a bit introverted, I think, because you kind of waste, it's quite easy to waste 3 or 4 hours playing a video game.
We all have things that we enjoy doing and get a real buzz out of doing. So actually, potentially, anybody could be addicted to anything because we all enjoy getting a buzz out of something.
With everybody at risk and statistics showing that 100% of 6 to 10-year-olds play games, the potential for future behavioural problems is assured. Are parents aware of the future issues that the purchase of a gaming machine conceived as a natural extension to television can create?
A lot of the parents consider the games as glorified babysitters, and they think they're wonderful. And I'm like going, if you knew what went on in those games, you wouldn't have any in your house. It's just really scary that so many people are supporting this, and they think there's nothing wrong with people spending their life in fantasy land rather than in the real world. They're saying, well, they're getting all these skills and they can use them in the real world, which is not true.
I think they probably have a concern that their children aren't perhaps mixing with other children, or doing their homework, or got other pastimes. The ones that do become immersed in games too much.
Children do model their behaviour on the behaviour they see around them. So as long as I know that the adults that they're mixing with and the peers that they're mixing with aren't getting involved in that sort of thing, then yeah, I'm not really worried about it.
If it's for children you're dealing with, then obviously parents have to take responsibility for managing their exposure to games, so they don't end up being in a situation where later on in life they're not going to work or taking days off sick to play games.
Gamers build bonds with so-called hooks in games. But what are these hooks, and are they designed by game developers to just enhance the playability of the game, or as a cynical way to exploit the user and add further to the profits of an industry which already has an annual turnover of more than $7 billion?
I think they've got to make it so people want to play it again and again and talk about it and refer it to their friends. And then if it's an online game, play it time after time.
I mean, the idea is that you actually do get addicted to the games, because that's the whole idea. They're trying to get you sucked into the game so that they can bring out another one and another one and another, and then you'll keep buying them.
You have to understand what customers want, and all of them. I've been involved in focus group testing of games, and we literally model or change the concept after we go to the focus group.
No, it's not their fault. I mean, if it's a good game and you're enjoying yourself when you're playing it, and they've successfully done their job, haven't they?
To sell games, the industry wants players to become addicted. But once they have a problem, do the very people who feed their addiction care about their welfare?
You won't sell the units unless the gamer likes the game or is immersed by the game.
To a degree, they want us to become addicted, but because of that, they do actually have a responsibility.
Well, they care enough that they want to sell them games and keep them happy and keep them buying games. It's a business after all, isn't it?
One person who has experienced firsthand the tragedy brought about by gaming addiction is mother Liz Woolley. Her son Sean took his own life after becoming addicted to the online game EverQuest. Nicknamed Evercrack by many gamers due to its extensive use of addictive hooks, the game has been cited as a key factor in Sean's death.
My son, Sean, became addicted to the EverQuest computer game when he was 20 years old. And after he started playing it, within a short time, I'd say within 3 months, it started affecting his real life and having negative effects on it. His personality was changing through all this. He was becoming socially withdrawn and depressed. He couldn't, function in the real world anymore. He was he wouldn't go out with his friends. He wouldn't socialize with us. All he wanted to do was game. He eventually got evicted from his place, and he came back home, and I took him to professional counseling. And they said, well, I should be glad he wasn't addicted to drugs and alcohol, and sent him home. Anyway, after the therapist said that, he just looked at me like, okay, see, there's nothing wrong with me. It's all in your head, and I can play the games the rest of my life, and you should support me. Anyway, I encouraged him to get a job and go back to school, and he just didn't want to do it. He wanted to keep on playing his games. And so eventually I made him leave the house, and I got him involved in a long-term support program through the county. And they got him on medication, and they were treating the effects of the game, which was the depression, and they also diagnosed him as having a schizoid personality.
The effects of the schizoid personality disorder that Sean suffered which includes almost always choosing solitary activities, taking pleasure in few, if any, pleasures, lacking close friends and showing detachment, all of which leave him open to a possible attachment with a computer game.
But they didn't do anything with the gaming issue. They, were asking him what he liked to do, and he told them he liked to, play computer games, and so they encouraged him to play more. Eventually, they helped him get a computer, and after he got that computer, he quit all contact with them. And anyway, it ended up in November, he ended up committing suicide in front of the computer with that EverQuest game on it. And it was just utterly shocking because he had never talked about taking his life or anything. But after he died, we were able to track something back on the game that showed that it was related to the game. It appears that he was in a relationship in the game, and whatever happened with that on October 30th was so devastating to him that he chose to take his life.
Since her son's death, Liz has been on a crusade to help others suffering in the same way as her son.
And when I saw him there, I found him. I just knew it had something to do with the game, and I felt people needed to know that these games weren't being created just for fun anymore. And so I just wanted to warn people what was going to happen. What I found out was that this was happening to thousands of other people out there, and that nobody was saying anything about it. And there was no place to go for help.
Online Gamers Anonymous is just one safe haven for gaming addicts. But how else can they be helped? And is there anything that the industry can do?
I needed someone else to sort of wean me off it slightly, but sort of, to get me to stop, or help me to stop, sort of the amount that I was playing.
I don't really know how wide the problem is or how big the problem is. If it is a problem, I don't know.
They can do something like aversion therapy, where actual fact they'll replace the buzz with you feeling sort of not so good about it.
Games are currently regulated in the UK by the Pan-European Game Information System. Ratings are based on a number of factors within the games, including any bad language, discrimination, drugs, the fear factor, sex and violence. As yet there is no rating for the addictiveness level of these games.
Whose responsibility is it? We could go around in circles talking about that actually, couldn't it? Maybe there should be a warning on the side of video packaging, just like there's on cigarettes.
As with all things, video games are acceptable in moderation, and unfortunately it appears that there are currently no real answers as to how to combat the now spiralling obsession with these games.
If you find that actually you're giving up other things in order to play your games, that's when it's actually starting to be quite detrimental to your health. And just make sure that you're not avoiding other pleasurable things in your life in favour of games.
Beware of the addictive properties of computer games, and to be responsible.
Think about what you want to do with your life, really. Do you want to waste it away playing video games all the time? Or would you rather sort of go out and prosper, see your friends?
Just don't forget where your priorities lie. Don't forget that you've got to have a life.
Okay, yeah, they should play the games, enjoy them, but get back to reality.
How many more parents will have to live with the turmoil that Liz Woolley's faced since the death of her son, and the unanswered question that she wrestles with every day?
So who is it to blame? Is it the gaming company? Was it Sean? Was it because of his age? Was it because of the relationship? I don't think you can pin it on to one thing.